Hello, Somerset County. Welcome to the Scoop Podcast. My name is Chris Edwards, President of the Somerset County Business Partnership. Thank you for joining us. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors of the podcast before we get started today. Names you probably recognize if you're frequent listeners to the podcast. Techie Geek, who put our podcast studio together. Unity Bank, our great partner here in the Business Hub, and the County of Somerset. Somerset County Commissioners were a big part of putting our tech together, so I want to give them a shout out and thank them for supporting this program. And I think we have a very fun podcast. When you hear the conversation, you might go, fun. But I think there's some really interesting parts of what we're going to talk about today, that whether you're a business owner or just someone who commutes and wants to understand maybe some of the finer parts of law that you wouldn't typically get when you talk to an attorney at a networking event. So we have a really interesting podcast. We have Ed Rebenack, co-founder of Ram Law, with us this morning. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for inviting me on.
It's our pleasure, and I think especially as we hit really travel season, right, for families. A lot of the commercial travel happens all around, but I think more people are hitting the road this time of year. I think we have a really interesting program today. Give us some background. Ram Law, I think, is a name. If you're in Somerville or you've been a part of the partnership, you've heard it in our programming. Your organization, thank you so much, has been a sponsor of multiple events of ours. We've had your partner, Tyler Hall, who was involved in our Young Professionals. He was a 40 under 40 winner. So the name Ram Law has been around the partnership for a while. But you helped co-found the firm back in 2007. So you could just talk a little bit how the firm got started and its presence here in Somerville over that period.
Sure. I was kind of hoping you were going to start with your best lawyer joke, and you still can if you'd like to.
No. I'll save that. That for the end.
All right. Yeah. We'll close with that. So my two original partners, Craig Aronow and Jay Mascolo, the three of us initially worked at a large insurance defense firm. That was the first half of my career, and I worked with these guys for a number of years, and we were good friends at the firm. It was a great firm. It was great work, fantastic attorneys, but it was a grind. There were the billable hour requirements were, let's just say they were a lot. And so it kind of got to a point where I started to think about where did I want to be kind of as I started to get older. I had a young family. Every time we went on vacation, I would sit there for a week and kind of stew about, where am I going to make up my week's worth of billing? And so all of that culminated into October 6, 2006. And Craig and I were in upstate New York at a marketing event, and we were sitting in traffic at night on the way back home, and we started to kind of gingerly bring up with each other, hey, did you ever think about trying to do this yourself on the plaintiff side? And after about 15 minutes of kind of awkward silence and back and forth, we agreed that we were going to resign. And one of us said, well, why don't we call Jay and see if he wants to? So mind you, it's October. Yankees are in the playoffs. We called Jay. He's drunk at a bar watching the playoffs. Craig and I are resigning. We're going to start our own firm. Do you have any interest? He's like, I'm in. Send me the paperwork in the morning. And he went back to his beer. And so that's what happened. So January 1, 2007, Ram Law was born. Light switch went on, and we went from representing the insurance industry, flipping sides, taking that background, and now representing the injured people against the insurance.
Did you say, hey, we have two of the three initials here. Do we need to find this perfect initial to make it happen? Or
Well, I mean, that would make sense. And there was a little back and forth about what order are the letters going to go in. And so my arguments were, well, I'm a little bit older, and Ram Law just seems to make a lot more sense than Arm Law or Mar Law. Yes.
Well, you needed that S, and you could have been Mars Law.
That's right.
After all. So the firm starts in 2007. Kind kind of a big picture, you're nearly going back 20 years. What your original idea in that car ride?
Right.
How close was it to what you pictured as you were putting the firm together versus, where life and some of these cases that kind of came up, took the firm,
Right. So, where we are today, was not really a thought of mine during that car ride. That car ride was, my wife was pregnant with our second child. We had just moved to Hillsborough. I had a new mortgage. I was about to go into, I think, my fourth year of partnership at the firm I was at, and everybody thought I was crazy. And we did a little bit also as well. We figured we're going to have to, hopefully that phone will ring, and, the three of us will just have fun practicing. And over the years, we started to kind of drill down and focus a little more and start to kind of learn some business concepts, and grew the firm and the practice and started to specialize a little bit. And so over the years, we got to a point where we're at now, which I honestly didn't conceive of during that car ride. Yeah.
Now, was Somerville the original office?
No, it was New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, okay.
Right, and that took a little convincing. I've lived in Somerset County since, I think, 1999, and after about a year, I was telling my partners, hey, I've got a lot of contacts in the county. There's not a lot of, real specialized plaintiffs firms in Somerville, Somerset County. Let's try some office space. Initial reaction was, no, you just want an office close to home. So finally, I told them, look, I'm going to rent an office part-time, 12 months. If it doesn't turn out, we'll shut it up. We'll shut it down. And I don't even know when that was, 8 or 9 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up in Somerville.
Well, I think it kind of speaks to the presence you've had, whether it's sponsoring local nonprofits, being on the DSA, being in the partnership, that the name is very well recognized as like a Somerville brand. I think that one of the amazing things we've seen, obviously, I've been in this area for 13 years, and when I moved up here, Somerville was starting to kind of pick up, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the people I know, like my parents, when I told them I was in Somerville, they were like, oh, they kind of had the 80s and 90s version of Somerville.
Lock your door.
Yeah. So can you talk about, just from your engagement in the community, like what the change you've seen in Somerville over this period as kind of the town's build up around your firm?
Sure. So my first residence in Somerset County was at the Garden Apartments. I forget the name of it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So that's where I lived when I first moved to Somerset County. And so that was in 1999. And as you said, things were a lot different back then. And over the years, I think just through leadership at the county level, leadership at the Somerville municipal level, and the willingness of the developers and retailers to start investing their money, really sparked quite a renaissance of the town. And so, it's, as obviously, as you know, and most people know, it's become such a great, eclectic little town. It's no longer a secret. I used to say it was the best kept secret. A foodie town, the development, people, commuters now living here that are commuting into the city and elsewhere. It's just been kind of a snowball effect, all for the better.
Yeah, no, it's been really positive to see. I really do think that New Brunswick and Morristown had their renaissance a little bit early, and I think Somerville's really, really coming around. I actually do think Boundbrook and Bernardsville have a chance to kind of follow Somerville's path here over the next decade or so. So we're going to change things up, and when we were talking about putting together the podcast, really great idea of talking about debunking, I think, common myths that I think we all have, whether it's a business or an individual. So I'm going to rapid fire some myths out here at you, and you can debunk them, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of your favorites here.
Sure.
In Somerset County. So I have 5 myths, and we'll kind of just go start with a rapid fire. So I don't need a lawyer. The insurance company will take care of me. What would you say to that?
So that's kind of that might be more of a joke than a myth.
Yeah.
But so that is obviously completely false. What happens is a lot of times the insurance company, when they get notice of an incident, they have a specialized department that will try and get in touch with you, the injured person, before you consult or retain an attorney. And they call up and they make you feel warm and fuzzy, and we're very concerned and we're sorry, and let's, pay for some of your medical bills or damage to your car. And a lot of times it's either in hopes of getting a quick release or in hopes of getting a statement when the person doesn't have the benefit of counsel. It's the pre-represented department. As soon as a lawyer sends a notice of representation, that claim typically moves to a separate department at the insurance company, who then deals with the lawyer. So they're set up to try and make you feel that way. It is typically the opposite.
Yeah.
In reality.
Before I get to the next one, I think one of the things that I admire about what you and your team do is you're in a profession where there's other aspects of law, whether it's like a divorce attorney, where people seek help as they're nearing a crisis or a moment in their life.
Right.
I'm assuming most people you're talking to, they've had the moment's happened, and now they're living in it, and now you're dealing with 5-alarm fires at all times. That must kind of create chaos in the office as well, correct?
There's a lot of our staff are top notch, and they know when it's all hands on deck. They know what needs to happen when people are in their crises. And like you said, there's a lot of, when you get into a significant injury or suffer a significant injury, you're getting hit from all different sides. So it's a matter of trying to manage for the person all these different aspects so they can focus on,
right.
How do I start to get myself better?
Another myth for you: all personal injury cases go to trial.
So once again, it's the exact opposite. It's much more of a rarity for a case to go to trial. What we find is that if you work the case up properly and you do everything the way that you should do it, the insurance company doesn't want to take that risk of taking a verdict. And so oftentimes we're able to position a case where we're getting very good settlement offers. So the vast majority, well over 90% of cases, do not end up going to a trial.
Yeah. And I think this is one I think you hear in all aspects of law. Hiring a lawyer is too expensive.
Right. So in the personal injury world, it's anyone who does it as their specialty, does it under a contingency fee. So what that means is you don't pay a penny to the lawyer out of pocket. Lawyer advance all the costs for the litigation. If there's a recovery, the lawyer gets reimbursed, and then a percentage of that net recovery is the fee.
Right.
And so one of the great things about the contingency agreement is that an injured person basically has access to any personal injury attorney they want, where cost is never, ever, or should never, ever be a factor. If there's an attorney on, the typical personal injury case asking a client to pay expenses up front, that's probably not the right attorney to be dealing with.
Right. And that's a good PSA for, always make sure that you're dealing with a reputable brand, a reputable organization, and that's why we're having this conversation today, and that's the equity you've built up in the community over the past 20 years. Final myth: filing a claim will raise my interest rates.
So in terms of rates for premium, probably talking more about premium rates. So, that's kind of a wild card because every insurance company has a different underwriting process. But a lot of times, once a claim is opened, and it'll be opened as soon as the accident is reported to them, even if it's by their own insured, oftentimes that event in and of itself will affect the premium. So not going forward with the claim, if anything, the insurance company just wins. They collect their premiums, they get them invested, they make their investment results. If the claim isn't brought, then they don't have to pay out and they get a windfall of the money. So a lot of times the premiums, as soon as there's an incident, are going to be affected regardless of whether or not you bring the claim.
Yeah. The common theme, I think, in all these myths are there's a lot of preconceived notions out there for hesitation. Mm-hmm. And I think, hesitation can be almost the biggest barrier between someone who got injured in an accident and getting the recovery or the solution that they deserve.
Yeah, some of the best advice I think people can get is if there's been an incident, even if you have no intention of doing anything, just call and find out what your rights and your obligations are.
Yep.
And that way you're at least making knowing decisions. It doesn't cost anything. Educate yourself and then make an educated decision.
Yeah. Well, you said the perfect thing there. I think that it is tougher as time moves on. Is that just call? We find that a lot. It's just pick up the phone, and it's amazing what you can find out on the other side.
That's right.
So my favorite part of this, as I mentioned to you before we started, is our 4 faves. We're going to do a little rapid fire where our membership can learn a little bit about you so that they out there see you at an event or one of our networking programs. It's a good way to break the ice, maybe when they're calling to get some information about the firm. So being here in Somerville, I would imagine I have favorite place to eat in Somerset County, but I'm going to have to imagine it's in Somerville. So what's your favorite place?
It's absolutely in Somerville. It's a 2-part answer. So Division Cafe, Gallo Pinto, followed by a walk across the street to Fresh Tiki for some ice cream.
There you go.
Dinner.
There you go. I can't wait. Are they open yet? I can't wait. I imagine as this gets released, they're open. But
they are definitely open.
Yeah. Favorite recreation activity in Somerset County?
Golf.
Yeah. You have a favorite course?
Fiddler's Elbow is where I play.
Yeah. Yep. That's they've been busy lately. Now they're in the filming industry too. I can't say much more, but
they are in the filming industry, and you may see my wife as an extra somewhere in the background when the movie comes out.
All right. That's we'll talk more when it. I guess is it this summer or next summer? Right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Date. So stay tuned. Favorite business partnership event?
Golf outing.
Yeah. You noticing a theme here?
That's right.
And favorite place to vacation when you need to get out of Somerset County?
Right. So to continue the theme, Hilton Head Island.
Yeah, there you go.
Love to go down there, get in the sun, play some more golf down there, and I just love the low country vibe.
Yeah. No, it's I got down there a few years ago. It was actually during the coming out of the pandemic. It was like the first vacation out, and it was. All my experiences down in the Hilton Head or Myrtle Beach area was always frantic, and it was just even more chill down there than I've seen before. It's such a great place, and obviously for a golf enthusiast, a certain paradise. So, well, that wraps up this episode of the Scoop Podcast. Ed, I want to congratulate you. You were named on the top 100 list by superlawyers.com last year. So congratulations.
Thank you.
How could someone who's listening to this podcast learn more about Ram Law?
Either stop by the office, 21 North Bridge Street, across from the front door of the courthouse. Email me at erebenack@ram.law. Or give us a call, 908-448-2560.
Perfect. Well, that wraps up this edition of the Scoop Podcast. Until we talk again, Somerset County.